We are in the meta of free-to-play video games, microtransactions, battle passes, and DLCs. Oh, and the era of video game companies apologizing for rushing out a product that they knew wasn't ready for release, and then pretending like it was a surprise to them and to everybody around them. My name is Chev, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about the current landscape of the gaming world. Everybody wants to blame the current game culture on the Gen Zers with their notorious desire for instant gratification. But the free-to-play era is here to stay. I don't think the issue is Gen Z here. Somehow a paradigm shift in the game development world is blamed almost exclusively on the younger generation of gamers. I think the take might just be that the older millennials, and maybe even the generation above us, is more responsible. But that doesn't really matter. We're here to discuss the future of gaming, specifically the free-to-play game model. We don't even really need to look for a boogeyman behind this movement, since it doesn't do anything to help the situation. So let's just talk about how we got here instead, and how we could polish this current model. Because let's be honest, the model's not going anywhere. We already said that, and we all know it. Yeah, the younger generation is eating up this free-to-play, battle royale heavy meta big time. But who makes these games? Not them. I think these games were made with two parties in mind. Yeah, I'd say the younger crowd makes up a large portion of that party. The others though? The older crowd. More specifically, the working class millennials post-college age that have less and less time for leisure as they get older, like myself. I would say the 23 to 24 to about 30 to 32-year-old gamer. Think about it. We really want to hold on to that experience from our youth. Those late nights gaming and the fun we have with our friends. We don't have time for that now. So we look to streamline this experience for ourselves and our peers by shifting to a multiplayer forward, free-to-play experience that usually includes a drop-and-play battle royale style of gaming. That is how we ended up here. We can't blame the younger generation who grew up with these games. They were made by the older heads. Don't yell at the kids who walk around doing TikTok dances and yelling TikTok phrases out for no reason. This is all they know. That's why they like it. These games are their youth. The real perpetrators here, above anybody else, the greedy, grimy little CEOs and their disgusting little shareholder minions who help fund these game companies now. More importantly, the strategy of slurping all of the money out of some of our beloved IPs or games as a way for these greedy executives to line their pockets with 6-figure bonuses and 7-figure salaries. It boosts their profit margins. Let's hop into the business side of this conversation. This one runs a bit deep, but here it goes. Ever since these gaming companies have realized they can make a lot of profit every single year on large IPs or larger game releases, the CEOs have scrambled to find ways to pitch to their potential investors or current shareholders a strategy or a timeline that involves pumping out titles as fast as possible with as little quality control as possible to maximize profit. Let me give you an example of a game that has fallen victim to this greed. The disaster example is OverWatch 2. I love the OverWatch games, by the way, so please don't think I'm just a hater of the franchise. I play a ton. In fact, I'm quite good. Sorry, a little flex. I had to. They're the poster child for how not to monetize a game, how not to utilize a battle pass, and how to absolutely disrespect your player base while simultaneously draining them for every single dollar that you can. I'll give you a brief checklist for what has happened. They charged players for PvE in Overwatch 2, but the multiplayer would remain free to play though. That was the deal that was made between Blizzard and their player base. They'd move to another game. You can't play Overwatch 1 anymore. You could still play Overwatch 2 multiplayer for free, but if you want to get the real meat and potatoes and the PvE, the whole point of Overwatch 2, you had to pay for it. Then they made some very interesting choices. They decided to hide their new heroes, the ones they introduce into the game behind battle passes. And if you want to use these new heroes without paying for a battle pass, you must grind to level 45 of that current season, which takes forever. This is a problem because most of the time, with the exception of Lifeweaver, if you know, you know, their new heroes are insanely overpowered when they debut in the game. It is an obvious way to entice players to play their game and try out the new battle pass. Let me put it into even simpler terms. They lock the new hero, the pinnacle of new content for a season, behind a battle pass. They then force players to play their game incessantly to earn this hero or make them fork over the cash. You make the said hero insanely overpowered at their launch. This way, the players have no choice but to either play the game non-stop or spend the money. It is the most grotesque, lazy, and half-assed attempt at sleight of hand that I have seen in the gaming sphere recently, like a magic trick performed by a greedy magician who popped 2 perks right before starting the trick. This is where things get even spicier. They canceled the PvE. Well, not really. They told their players that they'd move forward with a reduced, stripped-down version of their original idea for a PvE. This new PvE turned out to be a similar experience to their old Archives limited-time mode from Overwatch 1, which essentially was just a light story mode that filled in some backstory for characters, flushed out the lore of Overwatch a little bit, yada yada yada, you know the deal. Everybody who was now expecting a PvE had to accept the fact we're getting only campaign. That's what it is, a campaign mode, not an endlessly replayable PvE experience, a campaign mode that you play once and it's done. It has virtually no replayability either, which is sad because the original PvE idea was said to feature an endlessly replayable experience that heavily incorporated hero trees and RPG elements. What they gave us was a mix between horde mode and campaign missions. Once you go around that track once, you have very little interest in doing it again. Oh, I think I forgot to mention the best part. They're recharging everybody for this. Even if you paid at launch for that Watchpoint pack and you paid for Overwatch 2 for the original PvE experience, nope, you got nothing. This new batch of DLC, campaign modes, whatever they want to call it, has to be paid for each and every time a new chapter of it comes out. I don't know how there's not a lawsuit for this yet. It's insane. I think people are distracted by the merger now, Blizzard and Microsoft. I think it's great for the future of Blizzard, but just, I'm sorry, I digress. Crazy. That is just the tip of the iceberg for Overwatch 2, and it's just one example. But this example shows enough of the problems that I am referring to regarding this current free-to-play model. I was able to flesh out this experience a little bit more because I'm familiar with it. It's not necessarily a shame that this is the future of gaming. It's just a shame that this model will naturally provide more tolerance for unfinished products. It can permit excuses, even if we know deep down it can be avoided. Okay. We need a positivity break. Let's at least inject some nice aspects of this free-to-play model into the conversation. Got more time for your family, more time to try other games, and even more time to go outside. Ain't that something? Diversity is the biggest pitch here, guys, so bear with me. Some more obvious ones real quick. Free-to-play means free to play. This is insanely cost-effective. We love accessibility. Free-to-play models usually look to monetize their games through cosmetics and features that don't necessarily lead to pay-to-win dynamics, with some exceptions, of course. And that may just be about it. Look, I wish I could have come up with more positives here. And if you have some, feel free to comment down below and let me know. I'm sure there are some I just can't think of right now. And there isn't necessarily a research database on this shit. I'm sort of just winging it here. The reason why I have such a tough time gassing up this new free-to-play model is because we already have had severe issues with games being unfinished lately, and this will only make things worse. Now let's move on to the nucleus of my point here. What is the real purpose behind the free-to-play model? Rather, why is this viewed as a gold mine in the eyes of the gaming companies? And who's the true mastermind? Let's break it down. If these games are monetized well and built around microtransactions, cosmetics, DLC, etc., they'll generate more profit than any full-priced game could ever dream of making. To make this really simple, if the game is free, that opens up the opportunity for these games to be played by damn near everyone. Once the players have tried these games, these companies are hoping that the games are good enough, or at least addictive enough, to entice the player to spend money on additional in-game features or cosmetics. It is exactly like when casinos or sports betting websites give you free money to bet with in the hopes that you get addicted and spend 4 times as much money than you were originally gifted from them. You see, that's the end goal here. My overall point, this free-to-play model isn't any one person's fault. Not only that, but it isn't even a new dynamic. This has existed for a while now. That's why I urge you and everyone else who plays these games to be wary of blowing all your doubloons on the things like whatever the newest Fortnite collab skin is or CSGO cases. Those are so different, but somehow both fit the profile of microtransaction. Okay, time for a little salvation. How do we take this model, improve it, and happily move on with it into the sunset holding hands? First, I would say accountability on social media and various platforms really does matter. It sounds silly, but outrage on websites like Twitter or Reddit has really led to some productive conversations regarding gaming. Vouching for Twitter and Reddit as places for productive conversation. I'm down bad. Maybe a better example. Videos on YouTube made by creators that highlight the frustrations a player base has with their favorite game or games. These are probably some of the best pieces of media I've consumed in the last 4 years. In fact, seeing those types of videos blow up for all of the right reasons has kind of helped inspire me and kick me in the butt to make this video. You may be looking for some examples of this actually leading to change though. I got you with that one, and this one goes hand in hand with the Overwatch 2 discussion we have already had in this video. Overwatch 2 content creator and top 500 competitive player eskay created a video that highlighted everything wrong with the current competitive system within Overwatch 2. Also highlighting how straying away from Overwatch's original rank system from Overwatch 1 was not only unnecessary, but categorically worse. This video blew up and was circulated around the Overwatch 2 community with the help of some of her fellow creators. Soon we saw YouTube videos of pretty much all of the big Overwatch 2 creators reacting to this video. It spread like wildfire for many reasons, but the biggest one being how spot on it was. Eventually, the dev team dropped a community post talking about the future of competitive play. In this post, they specifically mentioned Eskay and her video. They highlighted that they agree with a ton of the points she made, validated her criticisms, expressed that mitigating some of these concerns are a top priority for them, and ultimately thanked the community and her for holding them accountable when it comes to balancing their game. Wow, what a concept, right? Communication. This is beautiful and really the best example I can give of why speaking up matters. Moving on to strategy number 2 here. This one's far less likely to happen and much harder to accomplish. Gaming communities as a whole would need to rally together to stop engaging with microtransactions within these games, at least for a period of time. This would essentially initiate a financial boycott of these titles. A few financial boycotts would rattle those snakes in monkey suits. You want these people to listen to you? Crush their pockets. Like I said, this one's a lot harder. I don't have much faith in getting everyone together to hold hands and take on the big bad wolves that are some of these billion-dollar companies, but I still feel the need to list this as an option because it technically would be the most effective way to send a message if it was executed perfectly. It's plausible. It's very possible. It's just not very likely. Maybe somebody can create an app for it. Who knows? Look, I'm more of a theory guy, clearly. I'm like the Oppenheimer of airing grievances. On to the final thing we could do as gamers to help move the needle forward. Brace yourselves for this one. Play other games. It sounds so simple and silly, but the most valuable commodity that we can offer other than literal money is time. One of the biggest catalysts for change within the gaming landscape in recent years is when a mass migration of players, led or influenced by content creators maybe, occurs and takes those gamers over to other titles when their current game of choice goes too stale. Challenge their egos. The best thing you could do is go for their pockets. The next best thing, their egos. I'll give you an example of how one game losing a ton of its players to a different, maybe newer other game can force positive changes in the former. Fortnite lost a lot of players to Apex Legends when the game came out. I remember seeing a ton of the big Fortnite creators shifting over to Apex from time to time because Fortnite was becoming stale and frustrating. The game was riddled at that point with too many lingering issues and frustrating mechanics at the time. This migration of content creators and everyday gamers to Apex Legends forced Epic Games to ask themselves a question: how can we prevent this from happening? They decided to be geniuses and essentially copy one of the features within Apex Legends that was new in the Battle Royale world and widely loved: the reboot van. If you or your squad member died, you could revive them by collecting their card. Fortnite went many seasons without having that as a feature. If you were in a squad game or a duo and you died, you died. That was it. You didn't get to come back. We had a lot of seasons like that. And at this point, now we have the reboot van for how many seasons now? I can't imagine the game without it. This led to a largely positive change made within Fortnite, and it brought back a ton of their players and gave them new reasons to keep playing their mega popular Battle Royale. I won't go too much into the great decisions Fortnite and Epic Games have made in recent years. I'll save that for another video. But that example right there is a perfect one that illustrates how something as simple as playing other games can truly help elevate gaming, specifically games within the free-to-play era. Let's wrap things up on another positive note. One of the best things about the world of gaming as it stands now are the options that we have. We have many free-to-play games at our disposal, financially friendly subscriptions like Game Pass on Xbox, and some high-quality games out right now that give us a bit of hope for the future. It ain't all bad. Another positive, social media is free. Well, kinda. Twitter, I don't know what's going on over there. Excuse me. The artist formerly known as Twitter, it's X now, whatever. There have never been more opportunities for your voice to be heard. We can always count on the mob of angry gamers to have our backs too, if we so desire. My last piece of advice: if the current world of gaming has you stressed to the point of deep frustration, take it as a sign to take a break, or make a video about it. But for real, go outside and get some air. See the world for what it is and appreciate nature. I'm not trying to be a hippie, but it's really helped me lately, so I figured I'd share. If you enjoyed this video, man, leave a like. I would really appreciate it. It's the first video I've done like this. Took me a while to make, but I've enjoyed every second of it. Hope you guys liked it, and I hope to see you in the future. Catch you guys soon. Peace.